Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey guys, it's me, Jennifer from the Curly Girls Obsessions. Jennifer behind the chair, Jennifer the salon owner, Jennifer the brand and product creator, Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions, and Jennifer the educator. If you are a returning listener or watcher, this is episode 63, which is so crazy. Like, I remember wanting to do a podcast for so long. And when I finally figured out how I was going to do it and start, I was so excited. I don't know that I thought that it would take me 2 years to get this far, episode number 63, but I just knew I couldn't wait to start. I had dreams of who I would interview and all the things. And this is crazy. I really interviewed two of the main people that I wanted to interview in the early stages of this podcast. And one was Wedad and one was Wendy Isles. So, two of my favorite product brands, two women that launched very successful businesses, and just listening to how they did it and all their trials and tribulations was so interesting to me. And here we are 2 years later. I'm really going to go back and look and see what the actual date was when we started. But 63 episodes and this other alarming statistic with podcasts is that most people will not make it past 10 episodes. So here we are at 63, and I'm hoping that it delivers a lot of value to you, because podcasts are not free to put on, meaning for me, right? There's the time that you think about it, the time you research what you're going to talk about. You need to get motivated, right? There's certain times of the month that I'll only record podcasts in because I know that the way that I'm delivering it is so much different than other times. And that's just based on a woman's monthly cycle. And it's not for me to say like this, that, the other. It's for me to say there's times of the month where you're awesome. There's times of the month when you're not. And I choose to record podcasts when I'm awesome. But it's a business, right? So you invest your time in those ways, and then there comes the time of actually putting the whole thing together, thinking of the thumbnail photos, taking the thumbnail photos, transcribing the audio, downloading the video, recording it onto, like, there is a lot involved in a podcast behind the scenes that you would never even imagine. And when I was that girl that was like, I want to do a podcast, I never dreamed it would be that way. And so, because I do so many other things, I actually do pay someone to put the whole podcast together as the video that you see in this piece of hair is just driving me crazy, in the final polished product. She writes the caption, she puts it in all the places. Like, I couldn't live without her and this podcast and have this podcast, let's just put it that way, because there are things that I choose to do with my time, and it's not do all that other part. There's enough time on the front end about thinking about it, researching it, and recording it. And then, even still, she does all the put together. I still have to listen to it again. So I've gotten super comfortable with hearing myself on camera, which is kind of like a really big benefit because I am on this camera a lot for social media. And it's good that I'm comfortable. I need to be comfortable because that's how all of my brands and services sell. So that is one of the businesses that I have. And I honestly, it's kind of funny because until this very point, I never even considered it one of the businesses that I have. I consider it something that I do for fun and adding value to people's lives. But It just hasn't hit that point yet where it's something that makes money for me with a profit. Then it would be considered a business, right? You're probably listening to this thinking like, then why do you do it? Why do I do it? Because it's long form content. And if you know me, I love to talk. I've got a lot of things to talk about. I'm coming up on, I can't even believe it, 50 years of age. And I still feel like I'm in my late 20s, early 30s, like physically, not that 50's old. It's just one of those numbers that I never saw myself, just like with the podcast, right? I never saw myself at the 63rd episode. I never saw myself as turning 50 either. It's just kind of one of those things. So I have a lot of things to share and a lot of things to talk about on here. Today, we are going to talk about business. And the reason that we're doing this is because recently on social media, I discussed the things that I love to do in business and the things that I not so much love in business. And I was coming off of one of the things that I hate, and it's accounting. Okay, so background. The salon I've owned for 12 and a half years. And prior to that, I did hair, like I've been working as a hairstylist since I was 17 years old. So I've worked in multiple hair salons as a commission stylist. And then I had a salon in my house that I ran for a while. And actually, I did that for 9 years, kind of crazy. And the salon I've had for 12 and a half years. When I started with the salon, and QuickBooks, right? Because when it was in my house, my accountant was like, just take 30% of what you make and put it in an envelope and put it away. And then at the end of the year, if you owe money, you're going to have this money. And if you don't, well, then great, you've got all this extra money. Perfect, right? It was a totally different scenario because it was just me. Like, was it a business? Yes, it was a hair business inside my house, but I wasn't managing other people and having an LLC and doing all of these things, right? So once I got into the hair salon where I had to pay rent, I had to buy supplies, and I had to pay payroll to other people that weren't me, then it got serious. And I'll never forget starting out with those QuickBooks. At that moment, I loathed them. It would take me like 8 hours to do a month because I thought that I had to balance it, right? I'll never forget that first time. And I was like, why isn't this shit balancing? And I called my friend. She talked me through some things. Like I called my mom, who was always very good with managing money. She talked me through some things. And I stressed over all of this. And then I'll never forget giving it to my accountant. And he was like, well, why did you stress over it? And I'm like, well, because aren't I responsible for doing X, Y, and Z? He's like, well, if you can't figure it out, you shouldn't take hours trying to figure out that one transaction. He's like, I'll figure it out. And I was like, oh, the gods have spoken. Someone's here to take care of me, right? And so that was the moment that I realized, like, yeah, you need your accountant to be ultra involved in your business because it's going to benefit you greatly. Okay, so fast forward 12 and a half years, me at my computer doing QuickBooks. You would think that the other thing that I do, because this is just me, I run payroll every week. I hate the every 2 week schedule, and I always like to get paid every week. I don't know what it is. Is it my mentality? I'm sure it is. It's my mind. And so I do run payroll every week with the salon. I also have the benefit when I do run payroll every week with the salon, knowing where I'm at down to the penny. Perfect. Then I'm not stressed about money, right? Wish that was true because I'm still stressed about money. Doesn't matter. I don't think that ever goes away when you're a business owner, but regardless. And so in a perfect world, I would run payroll for the week. Then I would automatically download the reports into my QuickBooks And then I will record the transactions of the expenses and the money's coming in for the week right after. Sounds like a perfect game plan, right? Well, if you're like me and you're like, I really enjoy knowing what I'm making, but I really hate being accountable for what has been spent. So I put it off and I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And then it's like, that pile of mail that just keeps growing on your counter, and you're like, I really should open that. I just don't feel like it. But you really should do that. And it lurks in your brain all the way until you actually do it. It's the same with the freaking QuickBooks for me. It just sits in my brain until I actually do it. So last week, I sit down with my computer and, all the reports that I need from the bank, the this, the that, and I get to work. I had to do February, March, April, May, and June. 5 freaking months worth of work in my QuickBooks. Can I just tell you, it was 10 hours of my time. And I listened to a lot of really good podcasts. I even started an audiobook. Like, that's how I get through it, because I honestly, it's so tedious and menial. And I mean, you could tell me all the ways that you want to that I could make this easier on myself. I told you how I could make it easier on myself. And I still don't do it because it's something that I just don't enjoy doing. It's that technical side of my brain, right? So fast forward, I put this on my story that I did this, boo hoo, whatever. And then I said, ask me any question about business. And I was so surprised. I did do a little bit of background about how important the accountant was, knowing your numbers. If you don't have an accountant, you need an accountant, because it's very common within the hair industry. Like, all these hairstylists have their own suites, and they think, like, they can run this business in and out of their own checking account. No, you cannot. You have to treat it separately. And so I discussed that on there. And then I put this question box, like, ask me anything you want about business. There was 3 questions that stood out in my mind to be probably the most, I'm not going to even say important, like, there's levels of importance, but I feel like these are the 3 burning questions on people's minds as it relates to business. So, from the start, the top one, I have these written down too, so you're going to see me look down. Does the stress ever go away? Quick answer, no. But honestly, with stress comes gains, right? You need the stress to gain, right? So if you don't already know this, when you wake up in the morning, your body puts through a rush of cortisol to actually get you out of the bed and get your day started. It's actually a good thing, right? But cortisol is our stress hormone, but it's what gets you moving, right? And you need to think of it the same way in business. At least that's how I think of it. When you have intense periods of growth, it's also intense stress, right? But the stress is almost one of those things that, as a business owner, I kind of tend to like it, because I know it's going to push me forward. I'm going to grow from that moment. I'm going to grow from that thing. I'm going to figure it out so that I don't feel that stress again. Or kind of not, right? With the QuickBooks, I can tend to torture myself with it. But that stress gives us massive periods of growth. And I feel like, too, every time in my business that I thought I had it figured out, it was like, ooh, here I am. I'm about to screw you over again. No matter how many systems and processes I had in place for that one thing, something new would come up, or there'd be a special exception to the rule, right? So with that, I think to also the point of the stress of the business is kind of like the drug of the entrepreneur. Like there is some weird high that we get from the adrenaline rush of the previous stress that we're experiencing to move forward, think out of the box, create something new that's also going to just deliver us on a silver platter a new layer of stress, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking of some new way to make money, to grow your business, for your business to do better things. And it's always going to be delivering that next layer of stress. And what I feel like you do end up doing better over time, at least for me, is I've figured out how to compartmentalize really well. Jennifer at home after, on Mondays and Tuesdays when I wake up, I know that I'm hitting on that computer. I'm getting jobs done that I need to get done that require one on one focus with the computer. As crazy as it sounds, sometimes I have two and three computers going at the same time because if I'm downloading a video over here for something, I can be working over here while I'm just checking to make sure that it's spinning. And over here, I can be doing payroll. And over here, I can be listening to a podcast or an audiobook that's going to give me growth and ideas on how to do things better. This is how my brain works. Probably really high functioning level of ADHD or ADD because I have to have multiple things going, multiple tabs open, and then I focus better. It's actually the craziest thing. I'll also have laundry going and I'll be thinking about what's going to be going on with my kids. And that's just how shit gets done. But like I said, you're constantly on my Mondays and Tuesdays, like I know what I'm doing there to grow the business. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm typically working behind the chair for the portion of the day. And when I'm behind the chair, like I don't want to think about the extension line. I don't want to think about the education. I don't want to think about what's for dinner. Like I just want to focus in on my client that's in the chair, compartmentalizing. After work, on Wednesday, Thursday, typically I will do one thing that pertains to the other two businesses, be it checking emails, deleting old emails. Yeah, I'm that person with one of my email boxes. And or working on something for the classes. That being said, typically by 6:30, 7 o'clock, I got to shut down. I got to get out of it all. And I just have to have my tea, watch TV, sit outside, water the plants, like whatever it is, because my brain needs to come down before I go to bed, or I would not go to sleep. Is this how I functioned in the early years of my business? Hell the fuck no. My brain was running 24/7. I even remember with the extension line, there was times that I was setting my alarm for 3 a.m. to get up and have a call with India. Um, it was crazy. And honestly, that also was when the shit was hitting the fan with that extension line during COVID with India and a ton of problems that I was having with that, which all ended up working out. Like, again, you have a high stress moment or high stress time period, and then it levels out, and then it amps up, and then it levels out, and then it amps up, and then it levels out. That's business. And like I said, in some weird, sick way, as an entrepreneur, you typically thrive in high stress moments. Learning how to compartmentalize is huge. It is the only way that I probably don't look 100 years old because you got to figure out how to shut it off. And I think that that just comes with time. That comes with the experience and the reps of owning a business and understanding like how it's going to roll. And the other key thing when it comes to stress that people, I think we always forget is like the first 90 seconds of a stressful situation tend to be the most stressful. Your body goes into fight or flight. You don't know how to react. You don't know how this is all going to come out. Am I going to be a failure? Am I going to be this? Am I going to be that? And then after that, you're like, okay, at least this is how I think. After that first 90 seconds, okay, now how am I going to pick up the pieces and put one foot in front of the other to get rid of this stress, to fix this problem, to make it better so that I never see this shit again. And it helps. Like, yeah, give yourself 90 seconds to brain fuck yourself till the end of tomorrow, right? Like, give it only 90 seconds because it is kind of a brain fuck when things go south. But you've got to get it back in order. Get it back in order, get your bearings, get your everything back from, you know, this high stress point. You still probably will be in fight or flight, and that might last for a while until you really figure it out. But once you've gotten past that first 90 seconds of intense stress and realization, you usually can get through it. And the other thing to know too, like if you fail, so what? So what? You can fix it. It's fixable. There's nothing that I haven't come across that isn't fixable. Sometimes it requires a lot of time and effort from me, and that really does suck. But usually it's fixable. And that's basically where I live is like it always is going to work itself out and it's fixable. And then life goes on. So if you want to be a business owner, understand you're going to have stress. Understand as much as you would love to think that it's going to be rinse and repeat, it's still going to have its bumps in the road. The salon runs like such a well oiled machine on the days when we're open, but there's always going to be that one thing that's going to happen that's going to throw a monkey wrench in that nobody's ever seen before. Just is, just how it flows. And the best is to always know that you can course correct, you can pivot, and you can make it right. End of story. So that's my blurb on stress. How do I learn and understand my numbers was the next big one. This one in business, like I said, this whole conversation started with accounting. And when it comes to learning your numbers, it starts with accounting and it starts with you getting in the weeds. You have to understand how your business makes money, how your business spends money, and what is left over. You have to understand those three aspects of your numbers in order to get in there and really start to understand your numbers. And you need an accountant to help you with all of this. Like you don't go to hair school or to, like, let's be real. Unless you're a finance major in college, you're not going to understand numbers. Unless you're an accountant in college, you're not going to understand numbers like they do, right? So when you start a business, most people that start a business because of a skill that they have. And that skill probably isn't because they understand numbers. You might be good at math, you might be good at, making sure that you have money saved in a 401k or this or that, but you're probably not a numbers person. Just is what it is. You probably started a business because, like me, I love doing hair. In hair school, they sure as shit did not talk about numbers. My first hair school teacher said that if I made more than $250 in a week, that I was killing it. She clearly did not understand numbers. And you could say that was 35 years ago, but please, 35 years ago, that was not a lot of money either. So, no, that was not right. Um, but that's how it starts with numbers. You have to be invested in learning the process first, and then you have to get hyper focused. I took a class with this girl. Her Instagram handle is at Salon Nerd. And she did this class about this PDF, and I thought this was so interesting. Like at that point, I had owned the salon for 11 and a half years, and I really went off my profit and loss statements usually as far as what things were. Slash is driving me crazy, how things were going as a good representation. And it is, totally is. Like, I mean, I would have conversations with my accountant, and I thought, oh, when she said that she was giving us this PDF, I thought, totally have this thing in the bag. I have all my profit and loss statements. It'll be no problem. And actually, it was a problem because it caused me to go deeper than the profit and loss statements. It caused me to literally line itemize everything, which I did in QuickBooks. But in QuickBooks, when you're you're doing journal entries, you're just entering it in, right? And you're either seeing this bottom number grow or decrease because you're either depositing money or taking money out. And the PDF was so interesting because it just laid it out in a pretty way, which also helped me because I don't know about you, but spreadsheets are not the love of my life. But this girl made it look nice because she knew that she was dealing with the creative mind and that in order to get us invested in it, it had to flow very pretty. And it had to be basic in understanding in order for us to actually do it. So then I started in on this PDF. I became obsessed with it, obsessed. And it was so interesting. I think what was like the biggest obsession was that um, seeing like payroll broken out from the standpoint of my employees or my team. I hate to call them employees, but the team pay and my pay, what I was taking home. And then the other thing that was super interesting was seeing at the top, like, okay, well, this is the dollar amount that the salon brought in, and then this is all the expenses. Also on your profit and loss, do you guys see me struggling with this so bad? On your profit and loss statement. But like I said, it was just something about the way that this thing was laid out that really drew me into it. And I felt like it was great. Her classes are ongoing. You could get in one if you wanted to. But that is how you understand your numbers. You physically, as the owner, have to be the person, at least I believe, and in the ability of this small business, I am the person who's entering that information and I am the person running the payroll, seeing what goes out. And I am the person recording everything that comes in. So I have a very broad picture of what the health of the business looks like on any given day of the week. And on usually Sunday mornings when I run payroll, I know to the penny what is in that bank account, what is going out, and what will be coming in and hitting the account with credit card transactions over the next 2 days once Monday and Tuesday hit, right? It's like it's very humbling when you see all of that. It's very humbling to know like, okay, we're really screwing up over here and this should be better and this and that. And next week's podcast is going to be about numbers in the hair extension business. I know that because I just recorded it. And I talk about the hair industry in general. This is also another interesting fact about knowing your numbers. And in the hair industry, there is kind of like this ick around charging or saying you do this, or, there's a lot of emotional discounting. The average hairstylist makes like the the amount is crippling as to the poverty level and what the average hairstylists make. Being that hairstylist that sets yourself apart and sets goals for yourself and wants to make a certain dollar amount, sometimes in our industry is looked at as shameful because it's It's kind of like viewed sometimes as this business that you do because you love it, not because it's a career, right? So you go through being a salon owner and a hairstylist in the past, and you're always thinking about this, right? Like, I've made it my career. I've made it very obvious that this is what I do to make money and feed my family. But, pricing, you'll base your pricing a lot on what other salons are doing around you. And why that doesn't work is because your rent is not their rent. Your product costs are not their product costs, right? Like there's all these things that factor in. The amount of money spent on education and doing all these different things to elevate their services as the customer comes in is not what it is at another salon. So you can't base it on that. And it takes you a good minute if you're in that mindset to get out of it. At our salon, we've also done things that are pretty progressive in this industry and not the norm. We take deposits on every appointment. So you might see this like at Waxing the City or trying to think of where else does this. Bottom line is there's not a lot of salons that take deposits on their appointments. And we started doing this after COVID when our time was like, listen, we're not here, like, we only have so much time and it's limited. And if you're going to cancel on us at the last minute, you're still going to pay us because someone else would have gladly slipped into that time. That's how deposits started here. And so then we also transitioned into parts and labor. For a long time, I had this scale. It's called the Vish scale. And it weighs out the product for every color service or Brazilian blowout. And for so long, we just used it as our weighing mechanism. And so that I could see as the owner what those reports were of what we were spending on product. It's also supposed to minimize waste. And it definitely did, but we weren't using it to its fullest potential. And it's cost me, I want to say, like, it's a little over 200 a month to have that scale. And at the point of this transition, we were hitting like this threshold. The salon was getting busier than ever again. Almost, beating out like pre-COVID numbers. I know that's hard for you to believe because you're like, we're in freaking 2025. Why are you still talking about this? Because that's the kind of effect that it had on a small business. We're still not there. We had to rebuild the entire team. And here that means like you're rebuilding from scratch. Even though we're known for curly hair and hair extensions, if the team that did it left, the new team has to be known for it, right? And not just me. So it took a long time to build, right? And so now we're getting past that point of where we were pre-COVID. And I'm like, you guys, this shit still is not adding up. Like, how is this possible? And it took one day of me doing payroll, downloading a report, and this report was different from what I normally saw. And I'll never forget, like, it was a $5 tip. And Avita, one of the assistants, got a $5 tip, and I was charged like $1.39 because this report actually showed me like, and I wouldn't have noticed it if it wasn't this basic. $5 tip removed $1.39 for credit card processing fees. And I would pay her in her paycheck the $5, right? So I lost $1.39. And then I also paid employer taxes of 10% more. So I was actually paying out $5.50 and losing $1.39 and the 50 cents, right? And you're like, how in the hell? And then London got a $5 tip and they took out, it was like $1.69. So guess what? If you think you understand credit card fees, but you don't understand your numbers, you definitely don't understand credit card fees. Because I thought I had a pretty good understanding of my numbers until I saw that report and I was like, wait, how is this possible? Okay, so I call up the credit card company. The credit card company is like, well, you get hit with a higher service fee if a lot of credit card transactions are coming in at the moment that you charge them. Hence why Avita's was $1.39 and London's was more. London's was charged at a time where not just my hair salon, but other stores and salons or whatever that use our credit card processor, a lot of credit card processing was happening at that moment that caused that percentage to actually be more. What? 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 So, if you think the Instagram algorithm is complicated, check out the credit card algorithm. None of us know it. It to me, it's almost fraudulent. It is fraudulent. Like it's fake money being transferred back and forth between like it's crazy and you'll never ever really understand what the fees are there. So, what did we do? We charge 3% on every ticket because we take deposits for every appointment that our credit card like it's a credit card coming through and then the majority of the clients just use the card on file when they leave, right? So, um, I mean, and people argued like, well, that should be the cost of doing business. Okay, well, when you're a commission hair salon, the cost of doing business, if I charged you 3% in your service total for the credit card, it would actually be 6% because we split it in half. That's how commission-based salon works. And so 3% on regular transactions, 5% if people want to run a tip through the credit card. Why? Because of that scenario that I just explained, the employee or taxes. Here's what's interesting. Even still, with charging that, the salon still ends up paying more in credit card fees than what it's collected. Crazy, 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 crazy. I know, right? But it's like that's just something that if I didn't get into the weeds of it, I would never know this much about it. So, if you want to know your numbers, you've got to get in there. And same with that Vish scale. Like here I was paying out for the Vish scale because it's supposed to cut down waste, cut down costs. But what it's ultimately for is for a business to separate parts and labors. And I love using this analogy. So you get some remodeling done on your house. The electrician comes to your house. They tell you what the cost of the job is going to cost and then the cost of the lights, right? Like it's separated. They don't just come in and say, oh, it's going to be $1,000 to hang X amount of lights. Go to the lighting store, pick out whatever you want. And you go to the lighting store and you pick out $999.99 worth of lights and they're going to make a penny on installing them all. No, that's not how it goes. It's separated. So that's what we have done. We separated it into parts and labor. Parts is the actual cost of the color that is weighed out by that Vish. I'm pointing over there because that's where our color realm is. That Vish scale weighs it out to the cent and it takes into consideration the fact that you need foils, gloves, all the things, right? It's all calculated within there, which is really awesome. And then the labor is the actual charge of the service time, right? So, say you get a root touch up to cover your gray. The service cost, I believe, is $85 here. The parts cost is on average anywhere from $4 to $9, depending on what product line the stylist uses on your hair. And so all of a sudden, once we started doing that, I started seeing that the business was not 2 plus 2 equals 2.5. 2 plus 2 actually equals 4. At least I think. We're getting better and we're getting close to it. All of those things, 12 and a half years later, that's how long it took me to figure it out. It actually, like the 12-year mark, was when we instilled parts and labor, and it really changed the dynamics of how things were run. Every business is in business to make money and to turn over a profit. The salon has hardly ever turned over a profit. And hopefully, this year, with the way things are, right, with these systems and processes in place, it will turn over a profit as it should, because that's the sign of a healthy business and understanding your numbers. Now, in those 12 and a half years, did I have distractions like my 4 kids and my husband and my house and all the things? Yes. Probably why it actually took me that long to figure it all out. Oh my God, I just realized I don't have on my wedding ring. That's the weirdest feeling. Okay, final question, and then I'm going to let you go. How do you deal with the haters? This is such a big topic now because of Google reviews, Facebook reviews, and just Instagram and social media, YouTube, TikTok in general, right? People feel free to comment. So, because they're really not doing it person to person, right? They're not doing it in face to face. They're doing it behind their phone. And so it leads for a lot of this opportunity to happen. And, you know, I'll never forget when the business first started and we, it was Yelp then, right? I know Yelp still exists, but Yelp is just not as big in our world anymore. And we got like our first bad Yelp review. And I was so blown away. Number one, because the person who wrote the review never even came in here. Number two, because they also, like, I ended up letting it get the better of me because I was a young business owner and I was scared, right? And I commented back saying, like, only a coward posts a faceless bad review. Honestly, it's true. But that person then uploaded a photo and then tended to comment a book, right? And, you know, there's actually people who set out to do this on a daily basis because they think it's fun, right? They don't understand how detrimental it could be to someone's health or their business. And so when that happened, my husband has a couple friends that are in IT. They did the research behind it. They figured out that the photo was a fraud, the account was a fraud. They contacted Yelp, and it took Yelp 4.5 months to remove the review for me, right? Like, I was like, ugh. And in the moment of getting that review, I was like, we're never going to have any clients. Everybody hates us. Everybody's going to see this, blah, 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 right? Nobody gave two craps about it. And I think it was because we had so many positive reviews that it was like, oh, so they got a bad review. Someone had a bad day, whatever. Like, our reputation really stood out as stellar, that this actual review that was at the top, because there was commenting and interaction going on, didn't make people stray from us, which I think is really interesting. Then you go to social media. That's a whole different ball game. We just had this situation, and I feel like I could talk about, well, there's two that I'm going to talk about. One was when we first started taking the deposits, and we're very transparent when you book online. We're very transparent when you call. Like, if you don't cancel this appointment without a 24-hour notice, you will not get this deposit back. It's going to go to the salon and the stylist because you were supposed to be here occupying that chair time. Chair time is money in a business when it's a salon. And if nobody's sitting in that chair, it becomes problematic, right? So someone called, this was Oh my gosh. When I think about this, 5 minutes before their appointment, and they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this happened to me. My car just got repoed. I'm not going to be able to come." Excuse me? It's a shock to you that your car just got repossessed? I kind of feel like they might send you out a bunch of notices before they actually show up with the tow truck to get your car the hell out of there. And so then she was like, "Well, I would like to reschedule my appointment because I can't get there. First of all, it's 5 minutes before your appointment. Your car is gone and you're just now calling us." Like, I know this sounds harsh, but I don't have a lot of respect for people who don't pay their bills. I'm just gonna say it. So, like, if you don't pay your bills there, why is it so shocking that this would become problematic too in your mind, right? If you don't pay your bills to pay off your car so you can drive your car around town without looking over your shoulder constantly because the repo guy is coming to take it, like, well, you're just not the kind of client I want sitting in our chair anyways, because odds are it's just not going to be a benefit. You're going to be that problematic person because you're problematic in your own life. And so she called back like probably 2 hours later and wanted to reschedule her appointment and move her deposit. And the receptionist was like, "Well, I'm sorry, but you don't have a deposit anymore because it was used for your appointment that you canceled 5 minutes before." "Well, I still canceled it." "Okay, but it's 5 minutes before. We are not going to be able to fill that chair with another client. The stylist is going to lose out on money because of the way that a salon works. Like, this is our policy." "Well, that's ridiculous. I want to talk to the owner." "Okay, fine." So I call her back after I was done with my client, and she starts yelling at me that she can't even believe that this would be our policy. She's already in a bind, and it's all about her, right? Like, has nothing to do with how sorry she feels about putting us in a bind or putting us out, right? Like, no. And this conversation did get heated and did go south because, like, as the business owner, sometimes you don't always keep your cool, right? Like, there are those people that you will talk to, business owner or life in general, where you feel like you're just slamming your head against the wall. This was one of them. I really hope that that phone just goes to voicemail and doesn't. Perfect. And so, no matter what I said to her, it didn't matter because she thought she was justified on getting the deposit back, even though she was told multiple times about canceling the appointment. And she's like, how did it end? She was like, she threatened to write a bad review about me. And I asked her very kindly, like, to get a piece of paper and a pen. And I spelled out my name and I told her not to spell it wrong when she says that I'm a bitch on Google. I know that sounds crazy, but this person, I had had it up to here at this point because there was no respect for us, no respect for anything. No matter what I said, it wouldn't have mattered. She just wanted her money back. And honestly, she also did go to the credit card company and she told the credit card company that we fraudulently charged her, blah, blah, blah. In the end, we were able to keep the deposit because she didn't show up, and it's obvious, it's all over online when you go to book the appointment. So, just as an FYI, when you have that, a deposit or a retainer for your appointment, you have to have it written out somewhere so that you have a backup for when shit goes south. Crazy, right? And I was like, "Oh, I know this girl is going to write a review about me." She actually did. And even after I spelled my name for her, she freaking spelled it wrong. So clearly, not all the ducks were in a row. And she hated me. And honestly, I really don't care. And she actually said, I think in the review, that her car got repossessed. Who's feeling sorry for you? but you're going to be willing to come into the hair salon and drop $400 on a haircut and products, which is exactly what she said to the receptionist. Like she couldn't wait to come in for the curly hair cutting styling experience and also buy all the products. And that is typically what a curly haircut and style and all the products point of sale ticket is. And I was like, if you're going to spend $400 on your hair, but you knowingly know that you're not paying your car payment, there's a problem, right? So when it comes to the haters, you got to consider the source and just be like, brush it off because they're always going to be there. I also had recently someone with their extensions, get in their extensions, wear them for like 7 or 8 weeks, love of her life, put it all over social media, how much she loved her hair, all the things, and then got them out and reinstalled. And then all of a sudden, problematic 2 weeks after the fact, right? And you're like, uh, we gave you all the tools and hair just doesn't go bad. You wore it, right? Like you know what it was. And we washed and styled these extensions before they even got put back in your head. They were amazing, like the hair quality top notch. But if you don't follow the directions, it's not going to be in your favor because hair extensions don't come with an AI robot, as we discussed in a previous podcast. Like there is actually rules that you need to follow. And so this whole situation blew up. And I honestly think at the end of the day that the extensions were used for a purpose and then she was finished with them. And now she was having buyer's remorse and wanted her money back. That's not going to happen because the product was perfect. And you also signed an agreement that you're going to take care of it, right? Well, when things didn't go her way, she blasted us all over social media, tagged us this, that, the other. And you know what? The beautiful thing with social media, unlike Google reviews or Facebook, is you can block and delete. You don't need to see this person. You don't need to subject yourself to the pain and suffering that they are delivering you up on a silver platter. Block and delete their comments or hide their comments. But I think though if you block their comments go away. But regardless, like she wasn't the perfect fit for us. She didn't follow directions. That we knew. She didn't use product in her hair. That we knew. Like she's going to have a disastrous experience. It's not going to work out in her favor. And so you have to know that what your business does offers a premium product, delivers a premium result, and you have trial and error on your side, right? You have reps of knowing what works and what doesn't work. And you convey that message to the client, and you're super upfront with them that when the haters come out like this, you know what you deliver and what you do is top notch, and that they just didn't play along right with the game, right? Like it just didn't work out. Now, for every 10 happy people, that one person that is the hater usually takes the cake, usually ruins the day for you and the rest of your week. But you need to go back and remember the 10 that loved you because they're your raving fans. They understand you, they get you, they listen to you, and they believe in what you do. Those are the people that you want in your inner circle. The other ones that hate, whatever, right? Encourage the 10 to write the positive reviews so that the one review doesn't stand out, right? The one bad one. Or they're like, they read through the reviews or the feedback or the comments and they're like, this person's awesome, this person's awesome, this person's awesome. Oh, this person doesn't like her. That makes her human. It gives a little bit of character to it. Now, if you're getting a ton of hate and people are like slamming your product all over, then it's not good, right? Then maybe you do need to revisit what you do and figure out how to make it better. But odds are you are stellar already if you're listening to this podcast. You're looking to elevate, you're already elevated services or lifestyle or product because you're always wanting to find out more, right? So odds are you don't reside in that bad area. You actually reside in the magical unicorn. And you just got to remember why you started. Say, fuck the haters because who cares? All right. Well, I hope this podcast delivered value. And if you found it helpful or useful and you know someone who could be helped by it, please send it to them. If you don't already follow the Curly Girls Obsessions, click the follow or subscribe. And yeah, that helps us grow, it helps us get our word out. I just talk about real things from my heart about the hair industry, personal growth, life, this, that, the other, being a business owner. And if you have any topics that you would like me to cover, please send us an email at jennifer@adoredhairextensions.com and let me know what it is that you would like me to cover. Until then, have a good one. Bye.